Hello, a very good afternoon to you, Dr. Ramsarran here, host of Getting It Right for the past several years, probably 2 decades, member of the Central Committee of the party, and of course, member of Parliament for the PPPC. Being your host, I open the lines immediately, the telephone lines, and this program is special. We usually take at least 15 minutes discussion before we open the lines. But Getting It Right today is going to be chucking it crude as far as the elections are concerned, as far as the recent developments, some of which are complicated by the actions of President Granger, His Excellency President Granger, and of course the seminal activities staged by the PPPC with its supporters, members, and leadership outside the CARICOM headquarters a few evenings back, when the leadership of the region on a platform of high leadership, highest leaders and their deputies and their support staff, came to Guyana, came to Georgetown, and at Liliendal Center had a powerful high-level meeting of all the heads of the regional states and governments, and of course they were fully exposed to thousands of ordinary Guyanese men and women picketing along the way as they entered the compound, the building of CARICOM, the CARICOM complex, office complex. And of course, they were greeted by hundreds of policemen with hundreds of barricades, steel barricades, to keep the peaceful protesters away from their sight. But that was not a very easy thing to do, because the protesters, although peaceful, were very vocal. And of course, 3,000 to 4,000, or even some people say 5,000 voices from different locations definitely would send the message that what? Granger must go. Call elections now. Name the date for elections now. That was the basic chant of the supporters, members, and leadership. And even some of the villagers eventually ended up joining the activities along the way. And of course, it took probably 3/4 of the Guyana police force all around to have a total shutdown of the area. They prepared, that is the police and the authorities responsible, put up barricades long before and blocked off not just the entrances, but to the very inconvenient experience of persons who do business in the area and live in the area for blocks and blocks down away from the main entrances and even the side entrances of the CARICOM complex. So that's one thing Guyanese should note, especially members of the PNC and the APNU and their supporters should note, but also other Guyanese members of the public, the members of the lay public. You might not have known it, and you might just have heard the commotion that was there, but this was a massive paramilitary operation supported by the discipline services, mainly the Guyana Police Force, and it was huge. So if you are not there, you might not get the right impression of what we're speaking about. It was a very high-scale mobilization. The cost is another thing. Remember, recently they were telling the policemen they don't have money to give them some additional monetary incentives, incentives that were given for many years under the PPPC at year-end. But of course, they could keep the police in line, as they call it, and keeping them in line means it costs more, and at the same time to transport the barricades, set them up, and of course provide meals and sustenance for the ranks deployed would of course be more money. So it's a big contradiction, and there was not a single incident, and there's no, commentators and observers are wondering, why were the ordinary Guyanese people pushed so far away from their leaders, from the leaders of the region? Why could they not have a peaceful conversation with their leaders who came to this country, some of them on the expenses of their countries, plus the donations made to CARICOM by the Guyanese people who were outside and pushed away by the police? Incidentally, the police were very professional, right? But that's because there was no particular flashpoint. And there are certain questions that we should ask ourselves. As a matter of fact, this is a question that was asked of me, and I probably didn't have the answer. I didn't expect it, right there on site, by some simple people, simple Guyanese folk, many of them country folk, some of them from the said area, Liliendal and so on. And there was incidents of the police beating their shields with their staves what they call batons in a more kind language, right? And beating it. Now, those things can cause severe damage. Someone was asking me, many people in different points of it, if the police now, obeying an illegal government, beat people, having been fully a proper educated police force, can read and write, understands English, understands what's going on, if they were to damage people, what would the PPP government do? What action criminally is it criminally liability? Could a policeman whack in somebody with a stave? There were some of them who were looking like they come from the old PNC type of thugs, but dressed up in uniform. Not all of them, but there were some of them who would have. If you administer injury to a Guyanese layman, a Guyanese member of the public, who might be a teacher, headmaster, nurse, a retired policeman, or an ordinary Guyanese housewife, if you whack them like you were whacking those shields in response to an illegal government, and you've been warned that it's an illegal government, what action must a new legal government take when it comes to power? That's not my question. It's just something that came up. I made a note, and I didn't even probably note the impact of or the importance of this suggestion. But probably because it's lay people, and you always think that we know leaders know the best, and that question was never raised. But with the Arab Spring experience and authority then being not only challenged and overthrown peacefully, but then disciplinary actions being taken by the persons who said they were instructed. Could a Guyanese policeman be so instructed by a government that is illegal or to whack people and make them probably damaged and uncomfortable? And what will happen? I don't know the answer. That's a question that came up. Probably you have the answers out there, and probably the members of the police force have those answers. But it could be quite interesting to see what the legal minds think about it. So that's just openers. But today we are looking at in this program the the most recent development in the election agenda, Guyanese elections agenda, and that is the announcement by GCOM to begin claims and objections on the 1st of October. Incidentally, this is a copy of the Mirror, the redone Mirror, upgraded, nice, very readable. Previously, a few years ago, it was a bit dull, but now it's bold, and you should get your copy. The circulation has increased slightly, and of course, the price is stable. The price is just $100, and it closely reflects the views and news of the People's Progressive Party. And if you look at it, the headlines today has been demonstrated so well by the operator, are taken directly out of the recent developments of the arena, the elections arena, and of course from the Thursday, the usual weekly Thursday, 1 o'clock press briefing by the Leader of the Opposition, Dr. Jagdeo. So here it says, no extension to give legal cover to an illegal government. This is just a repetition. It's there in the blue banner of your newspaper, and you can see it clearly. It's bold. No extension to give legal cover to an illegal government. That's firm. So obviously we're heading for interesting times, and we will need to probably look and see how the various forces acting will integrate, will come together to make it smooth for the Guyanese public and to make a smooth change of regime, so that regime change is democratic, legal, supervised, not supervised, but surveyed, with surveillance, that is to say, by international observers. We want more international observers. We know that the international community, represented here by the embassies of the ABC countries and the European Union, have already made certain pronouncements, certain cautious, certain tempered pronouncements, and calls on the government, the caretaker government. We must take care to say caretaker government of Granger, Nagamutu, Ramjatan, to have the date announced quickly. And what happened? Mr. Granger again pussyfooting and playing around with the Guyanese intelligence, the public and the leadership, the intelligence of those two interested categories of Guyanese, has now said he's going to have it sometime next year. Of course, the unconstitutionality of that is glaring, and they wanted to have it sometime in March, right? So that's another aspect of discussion that you might want to bring up. Hello, welcome to Get It Right. Hello, sorry we missed that. I'm talking too much. This is your program today, so I'm going to probably apologize to that caller for missing him. Hello.
Tell your operator.
Okay. So that's it. And then the GCOM, they begin the claims and objections. The party is saying, although we have serious reservations about certain things, we're advising our supporters and all democratic-minded Guyanese to fully utilize the claims and objection process. And this paper, of course, is like a handbill. Every page, the Guyanese should fully utilize the claims and objection period process by the PPP on page 9 of this document. And of course, on the screen there, you can't really see it. It's in the right-hand corner on the CN side. So, hello, welcome to Getting It Right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Could you speak up?
Pressure put these people there.
Okay, well, the Guyanese people are waking up. You know, the PPP never runs ahead the public, the nation, the supporters, and even the non-supporters. What we've noticed is that we're getting some good traction in among sections of our non-supporters.
We have put more sanctions for these people there.
Okay, well, sanctions mean that we can't do that. That has to be international bodies. So you're right. That is what the PPP and JAG are calling for. Stop take away the visas.
Yes, right? They take away the visa there.
Yeah. Remember they had done that to some of our ministers. I don't want to.
I can't hear before that visa take away.
Well, I don't know. Don't let's just hear, right? Don't let's go into here. Say this program has to be as a certain quality, right? So, but I agree with you, and the Guyanese public agrees with you that we should the pressure the overseas governments through their embassies and high commissions should put pressure on them by taking away their visas. Remember that these same bodies, the representatives here had done something similar against our leadership, right? So sanctions, that's one caller proposing sanctions. But what about the internal pressure? You know, I had another suggestion came to me the other night out at the barriers. They're saying, these young people were saying, why don't we just do as the PNC did? For example, with Ramsami. In Ramsami, there was a bunch of hooligans every night from about 6 o'clock to 12 o'clock would gather outside his official residence, beating tin and cup and pan and frying pan and all kind of thing, and making lots of noise outside the man's house, so he could not sleep, he could not rest, and the entire community was disturbed. Should we do that? But then the point is, the PNC has a certain liberty, a certain franchise on violence and semi-violence and a threat for violence. I mean, that's a fact, right? For example, you won't find the PPP with a scooter gang running down Regent Street burning it. You'll find it the opposite. Straight from Red Square, scooter gang, Regent Street burning, people getting beaten. So some of the suggestions that are being made or should be made must be reasonable within the context of what is realistic and mass, and how it falls against a backdrop of mass pressure. The gentleman is apparently advising that we're doing well so far, but we need to do better with more pressure. What elements of that, what more can we do you think, within the framework of being legal and at the same time promoting a united front against the PNC, APNO, AFC, instead of being those incidents happening, for example, unwarranted incidents, and splitting is occurring, right? Remember, you can have agent provocateurs in these settings, and that will to give the police an excuse to be unreasonable. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right.
Barry,
go right ahead.
I get 360,000 people.
Okay.
We must beat them bad.
Oh, you mean votes?
Yes.
Okay, well, I think this conservative, we are hoping to go a little bit higher, right? Okay, thanks for that support. Of course, that was on a lighter moment. We have to be realistic. I think we will win this election with a significant majority, but not that overwhelming majority that the gentleman calling suggests, right? But we're back to it. Certainty of election date will be assured once proclamation is issued. In other words, that's what Jagdo is saying. Dr. Jagdo, head of the opposition, leader of the opposition, and general secretary of the PPP. What he's saying is that the Mamagayan, the Coughlin by Granger, is no guarantee that you'll be having elections on the 2nd. The only time it can happen, and if you want to hold elections on any particular date, you got to write it, make the presidential proclamation, and put the signature on it. And who knows, in these times it would be good if you have the whole press corps and diplomatic corps there witnessing this historic moment. So if they're not afraid of the elections, if they're so certain that they are going to win, call the date now. Why this pussyfooting? What will happen between now and the first few days in March to create grounds for postponement or some other considerations? Those are, and that is why it's well documented or projected in the reports in the Mirror newspaper coming out of the pronouncements, the observations by Dr. Jagdeo at his weekly press briefing, Thursday press briefing. So things are happening, and what in the meantime is going on too is the PPP is preparing its manifesto, and the bottom banner of the paper says PPPC will build on track record of delivering for indigenous communities. That's what our presidential candidate is saying. So while they struggle to see that elections are held in a more timely manner, are free and fair and free from fear, at the same time the PPP is doing a lot of in-house activities and a lot of community-based activities to prepare what? Its manifesto. And this front page has one of the points, one of the several hundred bullet points in that manifesto. That is the care that will be given to the indigenous population, how we will integrate them, how monies we will spend on them, and how we can get them to be in the mainstream life, and so on and so forth. So, hello, welcome to Get It Right. Hello.
Hello.
Go right ahead. You're on air.
Yeah. What we going to do? It's called a date for election. That we want. You want to go wrong? Call a date for election. That we want. We going to want that.
Okay. Well, that means you recognize that this government is illegal, that any transactions...
We all know that.
Good.
We all know that. The Ghanaian people need a date for election. They're so backward, they know what is the date. What's the date that we want? A date for election.
Okay. Any other point you want to make there?
Good to be.
Okay, thank you. So that call is repeating the strident call for a date to be announced immediately. And as would another aspect of the discussion you might want to explore as you call in, what about the legality of transactions being done now? The business community, for example, at their recent meeting, and out of which a statement was issued, says that that is the national body that oversees business communities is saying that the PNC, APNU, AFC regime is illegal, and that brings forward a lot of agitation, a lot of apprehension in the business community. For example, how legal would be some of the contracts, some of the activities that would be conducted with the business sector now. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Go right ahead.
Chairman, the law said 90 days election. It's 3 months. How come now she put out to February? How come the president now, the regional instruction now, March, 2nd of March? That means that you got 150 days now. How is that?
Yes.
And the last 90 days is 90 days. How come is that?
Yeah. Well, that's why this is the old classic PNC corruption, electoral corruption, rigging elections in various manners, right? They're stretching it out. They're hoping to frustrate people and so on. But we will have to stay the course, and whether it comes on March or any time before, the PPP, as Jagdeo is saying, is fully mobilized. The PPPC is fully mobilized, and we now stretching beyond the coast, and we will have a second phase of going into the hinterland with our Amerindian brothers and sisters. So thanks to that, and at the same time, there's a circular which has come out from the party telling us about the preparation for claims and objections commencing on October the 1st. So while we are bringing to the attention of the international community the developments in Guyana, while we're mobilizing and agitating on the ground, while we're protesting outside CARICOM headquarters, the hard work has to go on, and the PPPC is very capable of that. So preparations for claim and objection, which will commence on October the 1st, the PPP is saying yes, you should do what? Guyanese should utilize the claims and objection period to make sure that they are eligible to vote. So even while we are squalling and scuffling and trying to get the bullying PNC administration to do the right thing in other areas of electoral politics, we are saying make sure you're on the list, make sure your name and particulars are correctly entered, okay? Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Oh, sorry, we lost that one. Okay. So that's a good call, and I like to tell you the PPP has probably today you'll be having even probably several dozen meetings, but over the past few weeks, past few months, and even up to the very day that we had the demonstration, peaceful protest outside CARICOM headquarters, you had probably 100 to 120 meetings going on right across the country in various communities. Some small, some bigger, right? Some going as much as 120 persons, but all of them what we call bottom house in the Guyanese terminology. Not we're not going to full-fledged street meetings, but that most likely will be coming sooner rather than later. And the party, of course, is putting it as apparatus in good stead, in good order, and by apparatus I mean literally the sound boxes, the vehicles, and so on. And we're calling on you especially to make your small contributions towards this. When these teams appear in your villages, in your little communities, help them set up the microphones and so on, the usual thing, and we'll get things going on the campaign trail. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Okay, remember the cell phone number, I'm seeing it's there on the screen, 6238696. Hello, welcome to you. Hello? Okay, could you tone the volume down?
Hello?
Hello, go right ahead. You're on to Getting It Right.
Yeah, good afternoon, sir. It's just the politician who about this stuff here, the government who about not invested to come in this country, right? Because we get a company, I work with a company. They get plenty more of the company want, but 3 more companies through my company want to come here to invest. But just the waiting on this thing to finish, how long they was coming, and they fighting with between the two politicians and two cars. This government lacking the investment not to come to this country to invest. We have a system in our company to look after the oil and gas. We have touched the 40 years experience. And we were there in a room to do it. And it's just, we do all the cameras set on the pipe and the bottom comes up to the top. So you will get everything specific in a room, because not a drop of oil could escape. If a drop escape, we got a connection in the room right away, so we could go and repair it.
Okay, so you're giving us some very technical discussions. Probably we can leave that. I ain't cutting you off. Leave that for when we have a specific program on the technical capacity, including local content, developing capacity, and so on. Right. So I'm happy that you're bringing forward that we do have some local capacity. Okay. That's an interesting thing because Trinidad, for example, has 100 years.
We're gonna wait till everything finish and settle.
No, well, you must recognize.
Like is 80% for PP. No, I know that for sure.
Yeah, but you must recognize that certain documents have been signed already, right? So we got to look at that, and
No, that could reverse again.
All right, well,
that come back again.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. That's a topic for another conversation, right? But right now we want to address specifically the GCOM claims and objection period that begins on October the 1st. And our party, PPPC, is advising that Guyanese should fully utilize the claims and objection process. Go test the system, see that you're ready, so that regardless of what route the PPP takes, and of course we participate in elections, that you will be prepared and ready and waiting, locked and loaded to win the elections. Okay? Thanks for coming through. Obviously that gentleman seemed to have some technical knowledge of oil and gas, but we have many more stages to go before we get there. And of course, today, one of the stages, these stages will be running sometimes parallel, concomitantly, and we are saying that the main thing we have to look at now is the claim and objection periods and make the maximum use of it. Hello, welcome to Get It Right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my dear.
My contribution is that once the coalition government who in high office make our country to this condition we have, they contribute a lot. Anyway, he decided to fix a date for election. I think the right thing is he must find it, and that we have the next thing, we want a free and fair election. My contribution. We have somebody have to see to that. We in office see to that we have a free and fair, not like what happened in the past. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. That seems to be the generalized feeling of Guyanese. But then what can we do? Free and fair and free from fear. I'd like that to become the chant now. Not only free and fair and free from fear. Whenever there's elections, especially things when the name of the PNC comes up, people think about fear, beating up scooter gang, burning Regent Street, and so on and so forth. We need to address that too. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. You're on air.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good
I would
afternoon.
like to say that they don't deserve to run this country. Since I was a small girl growing up, my parents had never voted for people like them. They can't even run their own selves, much as run this country. That is my contribution for this country.
Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, well, I think we didn't get clearly our meaning, but she seemed to think, if we can, I think you understand outside there, the Guyanese approach to it. Somebody claims that certain people can't run the government. Well, in other parts of the world, the governments have been run by different type of people, different approaches. Is all about law-abiding, law-governed process, a strict legal process, and so on. Mistakes will be made by any government and any group running government. So I don't fully agree with the caller, right? As a matter of fact, the PPPC has proven that we can make a government from taking people from all over. For example, in the past, with Dr. Chetty Jagan conceptualized the concept of the civic component of the government. In other words, it was not only the PPP members and supporters who were getting to run the government at all levels, but he invited people like Mr. Samuel Hines, who was a trained professional for the bauxite industry, to become prime ministerial candidate, and Sam eventually even acted as president for a short while. So, and that the concept of bringing all the elements together, not only for technical reasons, but for reasons of inclusion, that's our approach. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Go right ahead, you're on to Getting It Right. You're live. You got to talk up a little bit. You're coming out very squeaky. Hello, you're on the air. Okay, that I think it's my phone causing a problem. It needs some servicing or something. Okay, so everybody can be involved at their level, and it has to be done with a democratic process, starting with free and fair elections, and free and fair elections that are free from fear. It's no use to say you have observers, but people don't come out to vote under the guidance, under the watchful eye of the observers if they're threatened that something can happen. So those are aspects that the international community also have to look at. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Here, at the rest I checked the list, right? My wife, my son, and me there for the list. But then I got the next paragraph saying that I got to go in with my ID card to check up this. I got to go in my diamond.
You got to go by the diamond office, sub-office.
Why, the name don't have on the list here, my wife outside.
Yeah, well, the point is that's some of the things that's one of the things that is disturbing the commissioners from the opposition parties, and they've already raised that. I tried to find the text somewhere, but that has been questioned and queried by the PPPC commissioners, right? So it's a work in progress, but in the meantime, you be prepared to do that if you're so advised by the party, right? We are questioning the necessity for that, the need for that. because the list already went through a certain process, right? All you have to do now is conduct a claims and objection period.
Yeah, but it says that I got to go and carry my ID card and make sure I'm the person.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a claim and objection period they're speaking about, right?
Yeah, because the list they're right by me.
Yeah, well, if it's a claim and objection period that you're referring to.
No. This says that although you're there for the list, you got to go and check up for make sure that you're the person.
Okay, I think they're just stretching out the process. MAD, maximum administrative delay. They're giving the impression that they're doing work. The whole idea is to delay. The list basically that is there was used to run the last elections, and nobody complained. The last local government elections, nobody complained. The PNC didn't complain. Nobody complained. So the claims and objection period should be executed very quickly to address any little rounding off and smoothing off of the existing list that needs to be done.
Okay.
So that's just another mamagayan to push things back, right? But I think the international community and the PPPC, and I think even civic organizations in Guyana are well aware of what's going on, and the issue is to delay by the administration, by the PNC, APNO FC administration, to delay the holding of elections as much as possible, hoping probably that things will happen in their favor, and at the same time, more importantly, hoping to stay in office for more and more and more time. Some of them are collecting money under false pretense, huge salaries. Remember the issue we had just 3-4 weeks after the cabinet was formed? They increased their salary by 100%. Okay? Welcome to Getting It Right.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I personally want to find out. No, it's on the program. Am I on the program?
You're on air. The whole nation and even overseas listeners are hearing you.
Well, I want to find out whether I could speak to you. I could speak to you. And I wanted to ask this question. Why is it that we're not hearing from the presidential candidate to be of this country right now? We're just hearing from Comrade Bharat Ramsarran. We want to hear as much as possible from him what he has to offer, and not President Bharat Ramsarran.
Okay, well, I definitely know that you're being heard by tens of thousands of Guyanese at home and abroad. So let's throw that out, and probably the presidential candidate has his strategic approach to how he does business, right? We've noted it.
Understand what he has in store.
Well, we noted it. I understand a little mischief you're getting at. The manifesto has not been pronounced on yet, has not been published, and that I think would be a good time. I don't know what's his. He has a right to have some personal flavor to the campaign that he will conduct. We haven't even released our manifestos yet, and I know that he's working. So probably that will come. We don't even know when is the date. We don't even know when is the date of the election. No. Your sarcasm is well understood, but he cannot be. The laws don't allow it. We have one presidential candidate, Irfan Ali, who's very competent. He's a trained economist. He worked for many years in the Ministry of Finance, including with international agencies. So when the time is ripe, you will get it. You don't pick a mango, it takes time to grow and get nice and red and rosy. So just continue dribbling for some time, and waiting to smack into and knock into and bite into the manifesto when it comes out. He will make those pronouncements most likely, right, about that time. Okay? So, but that's an interesting question, right? But why didn't he proffer it to the other participants in the process? The Granger-led regime. Why is he proposing, right? We hear so far about the BBBs. That's something they keep mentioning, but that's fading out. Buses, book bags, and so on and so on. So the question seemed to be, and I chucked it a bit crude because obviously it's a biased, sarcastic question. What is Granger doing? Where is his manifesto? Why Ali must put out his manifesto first, right? And it's wrong to say that Irfan Ali has not made any pronouncement. He spoke about giving back the $10,000, for example, to each child, the $10,000 that the PPP used to give each child when we were in office, and which was immediately taken away. Immediately, listen to this, PNC supporters and the detractors of the PPP, other detractors. Immediately, the $10,000 that the Ramatar government had given to help subsidize the school children, and the other $10,000 to subsidize the electricity and water for pensioners. Immediately, that was stopped. And what happened? The PNC took the same money and gave themselves 100% raise in salary. 100% raise in salary. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right.
Hi, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, go right ahead.
My mom didn't know this, but her name is on the list. So I was wondering, how is that possible?
Well, I don't think the fraud could be so extensive that somebody. I think you need to look back, and she might have registered, right? You need to check that back, right? Because the list is not being registered now. It is a list that was existing. You understand me? So probably she did go through the process, and it's good that she's on the list if the details and particulars are correct, right? You have to see now that those are translated into the production of an accurate ID card with a correct and readable picture, recognizable picture, okay?
Okay.
Okay. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right.
Yes, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
With regards to the caller that mentioned about the presidential candidate not being heard yet, I guess that it's because the campaign mood is not fully on yet.
Yes, the PPP and the presidential candidate has a right to decide what we do at what pace we do, right? And while you're talking about the presidential candidate, there was no talk in that discussion about the massive demonstrations that the PPP mounted and who was leading it. Right there, you had Irfan Ali at the front, right?
Yeah, okay.
So you have to understand these loaded questions.
Okay, but I'd like to.
The idea there was to trying to get over that Jagdeo taking over things, the old story.
No, but he's the general secretary and the opposition
Exactly,
leader.
and not only that, he's recognized by the vast majority of the Guyanese people. We went around Linden a few months back, and there was a big storm to shake him and greet him and so on, because people knew how we turned around backside under Jagdeo and Ramatar.
Okay, and with regard to the caller that called before, I'd like it to organize a presidential debate. Let's have the two presidents start kicking off with debates, and then we'll see what would be the real thing coming through.
Okay, that's another suggestion I'd like. This is the third suggestion, recommendation I'm throwing out to the public, right? That they have this debate. I'm certain, I haven't gotten his permission to say so, but I'm certain that Irfan Ali will be willing and as long as the conditions are correct and balanced and so on, like they do in other countries. Okay? So thanks for that suggestion. Right? Now, concerning the lady who called just now asking about her mom on the list, but not recalling having done the process. I being the chief scrutineer in the 97 and the deputy chief scrutineer in the 92 elections to the PPP, I don't see how it could be, once she's there, it's positive, she's alive, and you have to see that she's voted and she votes, and that she's not voted for, right? So there might be, you need to check back, there might be some, or if anybody out there has another answer, another suggestion, but I think the process, once she's there and once the details are accurate and so on, she should take the opportunity to vote and vote for the PPPC, and if she finds anything more before the elections with the name or the list, because if there's anybody else who has that experience that they can't remember registering but they're on the list, you can probably bring it up for us and we'll see if there's a pattern. But I do not think that's a negative thing. If you're a Guyanese citizen, regardless of your age, and if you're on the list and your particulars are correct, that's hoorah, you can vote. And of course, I know you'll vote for the PPPC. Okay? So we were speaking about the sub-theme of today's Getting It Right program. That is the GCOM to begin claims and objections on October the 1st, right? And the party is saying, in spite of much of the criticism that we have been laying against the administration and against its arms and bodies regarding elections, we're saying clearly in this matter, in this aspect of the matter, take full advantage take full advantage. As the PPP is saying in the newspaper that is closely related and closely associated with his views, Guyanese should fully utilize claims and objections. And the article continues on page 9, and there's some special little tidbits out of that article that are very, very interesting. Guyanese should fully utilize the claims and objection process. Then that's what this newspaper says. Welcoming the decision of the Guyana Elections Commission to commence a claims and objection exercise from October 1st, 2019, opposition leader Barjagya urged that all concerned must utilize the process fully. So if they do any hanky-panky afterwards, you're there and you can fight that hanky-panky. But if you get vexed and you're fed up with how they're doing it, they will be happy that if you voluntarily deregister yourself. So get registered, and then we'll fight the battle in stages, okay? Just like how while we're running and with this direct things electoral and direct with GCOM, we're also running another road, the manifesto, building our structures, putting our equipment in order, putting our vehicles in order, servicing them, and so on and so forth, okay? And at the same time, the next big push is going to be for the hinterland. We're doing little work there, but we're going to be concentrating. A lot of work has been done, and positive work done on the coast. With your support, we're now going to make it all over. And of course, there's the international aspect. We've already had certain developments. Dr. Bheri is in constant communication with the representatives of the important countries around the world who are here in Georgetown, at the embassies, at the high commissions, and so on and so forth. And of course, we are having massive protests overseas, sometimes 200 people with placards whenever the PNC caretaker, illegal ministers and advisors travel at the expense, illegally, unlawfully, at the expense of the Guyanese taxpayer. Whether it's wind, snow, shine, tornado, whatever it is, the Guyanese community is mobilized, and you might get as much as 200 people at any one time placarding, picketing, and of course the governments in those capitals, Canada, America, and so on, are actually seeing what's going on. In other words, it's a stark reminder that these people who are coming to your country, the PNC, APNO, FCU leaders, are frauds, are illegal, and that they're robbing the people of Guyana by taking their salaries and emoluments under false pretense. They should demit office and hand over all the authority, all the wealth, all the property that they've been given. They should get out the houses. Right, one person in one of the markets was telling me Broom should get out of the big house that they rent for her, but I don't want to go to that minor petty level. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Barry, and how are you?
I'm good, happy to hear from you.
Okay. I just want to hear a very concern, something that I discovered at public hospital. There was a patient coming out the very day that got discharged, and that was in the evening, going on to the evening. And to my surprise, we went across to the place to ask for a drop from the ambulance home to the penitence. And to my surprise, the security guard said you have to go to that little hut there, and then they would tell you have to pay $2,000. Could you believe that?
Yeah, I don't want to disappoint you, but I could believe it, right? We would like to, even under our regime, we were trying to make everything free. But if you are being given a receipt, I don't know the process now. I don't interfere into certain things, even as a minister. But I don't know what is the model they're using, right? Under our government, that would have been free. But
yeah, this patient just discharged. Suppose they don't have money or
no, well, that's what
like
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So we need, if that's the case, usually let me explain to you. Usually that person, if they don't have money, would be directed upstairs to the social welfare officer, and arrangements would be made. If it's legal and if it's not some underhand thing that somebody's trying to get from you, right? But there might be a small fee, and I know if the patients cannot afford it, or the family, we will not the system, and we will will take back over that same system, work with those same people, right? The same ambulance and so on. We left it there. But sometimes if a fee has to be paid, right, it has to be billed, it has to be given a receipt, you understand, to stop fraud and what you call it, touting, right? But at the same time, listen well, I don't know the full story, but under the PPP regime, if you would go up to Mr. Michael Khan, if you're a social needy case, right? So probably that needs to be told to the public wider, okay?
I need,
Okay. Well, I've never heard of that, right? But if it's a decision by the board, a receipt must be issued, and if it's burdensome, I'm certain their outlet.
No, we didn't take them. We went and took a taxi.
Okay.
It's cheap for $500.
And the patient got home safely.
Yes, it was a male patient.
Okay, well now listen, that's another thing, right? I know we've diverted a little bit from election, but as being the Minister of Health and a doctor who worked there for some time at GPHC, now that could have meant that probably we got to think of getting other modes of transportation offered by the hospital. An ambulance is a specialized piece of equipment with expensive things in it that should be parked and waiting for emergencies. We use an ambulance as a transportation facility. So I don't want to get into trouble and you start saying that I'm not sympathetic, but an ambulance should not be used to drop home patients. They should provide other vehicles. Ambulance must be waiting when you got fire, when you got a shootout, when you got an accident, because it's not just a minibus. It's supposed to have certain expensive equipment in there, right? So I want to stand by the authorities in this case, and I want you to understand, right, that probably the mistake being made is that the administration did not make it clear, right? Or if the patient was needy, they could probably provide other non-ambulance transportation at the cost of the social welfare office, right? Okay.
Yes, I want to ask about this election. Now I heard it's 35 days, and then in the official gazette they put 45 days, something like that, stretching the days. Why are they?
I haven't heard that. Don't let's depend on hearsay. If it's so in the gazette, let's get a copy and check it, because I have from the party here. Which a document which reflects what's officially being said. This process will run for 35 days from Tuesday 1st of October to Monday 4th of November 2019. 28 days for claims from 1st October to 28th October 2019. 7 days objections only from 29th October to 4th November. So our party would now probably send this to our activists, thousands of this to our activists, based on what GCOM said. So we got to check and see if you're not making a mistake.
Okay, another thing quickly. Now, if an individual had not voted in 2015, that means they won't be on the list.
No, I don't. I think you could be on the list and didn't vote. Right? You know that's.
You'll have to check.
Yeah, you could. Well, what happened? A lot of people's names were on a list for a particular community, but because the PPP was developed so many house lots and given out so many house lots, their name was on one list, list A, but they were living in community X. And that's some of the reason why we lost some votes, because people just said, we done win already. PPP done win already, and they did not. That's a serious thing I want to know, a teaching point I want to use this program for. You need, listen well, you need out there, if you've transferred to one of the house lots that the PPP developed, you need to make sure that you do the transfer to that location. Don't tell me that you're going to go back on election day. It doesn't happen, right? Okay? So thanks for coming through, huh?
Thank you.
This was one of the most interesting calls. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Okay, we missed that one. Sorry, we missed that. I was having a protracted call, but if you, provided you're not going to be abusive or curt with me, we will do no cutting off, all right, of callers here. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Something's wrong with my technology. Okay, so the circular, this is sharing a bit of internal party business with the lay public. The circle is already out there. The organizers, the supervisors, the group leaders, the chairman of groups have all been given it, or most have, and it's on the way for those who haven't, especially on the coastal areas. And it's called Election Circular, and it's signed, of course, by Zulfikar Mustafa. It's an internal document, but I'm sharing with you those things that can be made public, right? And it says here, the Elections Commission, GCOM, will commence claims and objections from 1st of October 2019 to update the voters list for the upcoming general elections in early 2020, right? And it also indicates that due to based on the house-to-house work, intense house work that the party activists and machinery and supporters have been doing in the communities, we should be having at our easy disposal a list of persons identified and documented from this house-to-house work who needs transfers, who have attained the age of 18 by 31st of December 2019, in other words, they're first-time voters, and of course of persons who never registered before for some reason, and that would be termed late registration. So the circle is already on the ball, and as you'll see, the PPP is at every subset of needs for proper elections. To fight the proper elections is there. The posters are up already in Georgetown and some places on the coast, other places on the coast. The nice graphic, easy to read posters with clear messages. No to VAT on education, no to VAT on health, things like that, clear, and they're on the lantern post. And of course the volunteers have been doing a great job in putting them just high enough to keep out of mischief's way, while at the same time low enough to be read easily by vehicles passing, by people on cycles passing, by pedestrians and so on. So I want to congratulate the PPPC machinery, the field workers, for that activity. And of course, before they could have been given that material, the expenses had to be collected, donations had to be collected, fundraisers had to be raised, and so on, to get the money to print those vinyl things, right, and so on, and get the backends, the staves that you nail them on with. Incidentally, speaking about fundraisers, this is the season for fundraising, and we're encouraging all groups to do so. The latest big fundraiser that I came across was that by the Campbellville group, which held a massive barbecue, family fun day, and hot dog sale on the empty lot adjoining next door to Freedom House. A massive activity, and we like to thank you there, and the monies will of course be going towards offsetting the expenses like printing the flyers, printing the posters on the vinyl, and of course providing sustenance to the supporters and the volunteers who take it out and put it up. And next morning you wake up and see the PPP has been in my community, and it's touching on the things that matter to me. No VAT on education, no VAT on health, and things like this. They perfect, nice slogans addressing the issues, and then those issues will be more in a more detailed manner adumbrated in the manifesto. And the manifesto this time, I suspect, will be launched with a great impact to say yes, although the PPP campaign has already begun in an insidious manner, that the campaign has now begun, right? So that's another big day in the agenda, the election campaign agenda, the launch of the PPPC manifesto. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right.
Yes.
Go right ahead.
No, Doctor.
Go right ahead.
I have a little concern because I heard you mention a little sneak preview of what might be coming up in the manifesto in relation to Amerindians.
Yeah. Well, that's in the newspaper, right? It's in the newspaper here. I read the headline there, right? That's what I was reading.
Yes, that's very good.
This is what it says.
That
PPP.
we are paying attention to the indigenous peoples of Guyana. But for me, I am not an indigenous person of Guyana.
Okay.
And I am a prospective voter.
Okay.
So I would like, in the manifesto, at least I would like to know what is there for the other peoples of this country, because after all of us are Guyanese. Whether we are here first or last, we're all Guyanese. And I would like to know what is there for me so that I can get it right.
That's a very legitimate question, and we will be getting it right. Of course, this publication here if we could not put everything, I suppose the editor could not put everything, otherwise you would be reprinting the entire manifesto. But I can tell you health, education, social services, all of those things, as in past manifestos, but now more detailed. Our manifesto is a nice thick document in the past elections. What you can do, if you do have a copy of an old manifesto, you can probably box it up and look and see probably what we were able to achieve. Did the PPP achieve the manifesto and so on, right? But I can tell you, this is just not, we recognize that there are far more non-indigenous people than indigenous people. We recognize they're teachers, they're doctors, they're nurses, they're professionals, they're people who have concerns about ownership of land, they're farmers and so on. So those things you'll have to dribble a little bit until you wait for the nice juicy manifesto coming out, okay? And then I think this time it's going to go viral. It's going to go online, and you'll be able to have another better readable product, okay? Thank you. I want to thank that lady. That was an interesting question. But of course, we put in excerpts on the manifesto. A little what we call in journalism, little tidbits, excerpts, highlights. Highlights, I think, is the best term the journalists use. Okay. For example, we have at the top here, Jagdeo says, certainty of election date will be assured once proclamation is issued. That came out of his press briefing. But of course, that's only one point. He made many other points at the press briefing. But it's just physically impossible to bring all at one time, right? Information, there's so much information floating out there. But what we did bring to your attention is this, that the PPP is saying, and it's on page 3 of this edition of the Weekend Mirror, no extension to give legal cover to an illegal government. This is what the PPP is saying. And on page 3, it's saying, despite the condemnation from the People's Progressive Party, the diplomatic community, and local civil society, the Alliance for Change leaders have insisted that the now illegal APNU AFC cabal has adhered to the Constitution of Guyana. The Constitution of Guyana said that you should get out after 90 days, right? Okay, then they flouted that, they broke that up, and then a next opportunity came for them to get out after 90 days after the court case, and the CTV made a pronouncement. Hello, welcome to Getting It Right. Go right ahead.
Mr. Basil Williams, the caretaker government, minister.
Okay.
Tell the CCJ judge, if you watch it, or the people going on, that the next election will do it by politics.
Okay, well, you know, I think your things have gone a little bit beyond Basil Williams. He's proven to be totally out of depth, out of his league. So let's concentrate now on other things right now. For example, GCOM will begin the claims and objection on October the 1st. So what we are encouraging you to do is to, first of all, make sure you get your copy of the Mirror regularly. Every weekend it comes out by Friday, 2 o'clock, every Friday. And at the same time, it reflects the views, it closely reflects most of the views of the PPP and the PPP's leadership. But in the meantime, the message to take, especially to the young people, please, GCOM to begin claims and objection period on October 1st. As soon as it begins, please take maximum advantage of it. Take maximum advantage of it. And at the same time, a warning to the Granger, the legal caretaker government of Granger, Nagamutu Ramditan. No extension will be given to give legal cover to an illegal government. And we are still, due to the pressure put on by our supporters and members from the grassroots, we are still considering what measures will be taken after we come back to power for all the illegality that is going on now. And at the same time, this is not from the party, but I'll take a little liberty here. This is one of the questions being asked by my supporters, especially the barricades. If these policemen whack you for an illegal government, and they did it and they caused damage, could there be any liability, personal criminal liability, for what would be an illegal act? And at the same time, these are people who went to school, basic education, and they must understand what they're doing. Okay, so I think I'll end with there. I see the operator is frantically waving. I hope to see you next Saturday at noon. At noon on NTN, channel 69, and right here on MTV at 4 p.m. Bye bye.